This video is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Back in April last year, the government passed one of its most controversial pieces of legislation in years. Groups organised to demonstrate against it. Politicians tried to block it. Journalists warned about it. This was the Police, Crime, Court and Sentencing Act. It was the government's attempt at redrawing the lines between the right to protest and what the government refers to as the right of ordinary people to go about their daily lives. Now, while the Act is on the statute book and the government did eventually get it through Parliament, this was only by getting rid of some of the most controversial elements. Now though, the government has bundled together the most controversial gutted sections of the Act and are trying to get it back through Parliament in the Public Order Bill. In fact, they're even trying to put in amendments at the very last moment that would further restrict the right to protest. So in this video, we'll have a look at the bill, what it would change, and how the government is planning on altering it at the last moment. So let's start by going through what is currently in the Public Order Bill. The bill starts by creating a locking on offence, something that was lifted from the Police, Crimes, Courts and Sentencing Bill before it was removed by the House of Lords. Locking on is defined as intentionally attaching yourself, another person or an object to another person, object or land in such a way that disruption is caused to two or more individuals or an organisation outside of a dwelling. It makes clear that it doesn't need to be intentional. This clause means that anyone breaking these rules would be subject to 51 weeks imprisonment, a fine or both. Now, keep this punishment in your head because it crops up a lot. It's fairly obvious that this new clause is a response to the Insulate Britain protests that took place all the way back in 2021. Ministers appeared frustrated at the time that the police weren't doing enough to stop these taking place, and it's clear that their solution is to create this new locking on offence so that police can more easily arrest protesters and keep roads open. The next offence uses the same sort of language but relates to tunnelling. Again, this offence seems to relate to a specific instance where the government thinks that the police didn't have adequate power to prevent it from happening. Back in 2020, a number of environmentalists created tunnels at Euston to try and prevent the creation of High Speed 2, or HS2. As such, the government has specified that if a person creates a tunnel and the tunnelling either causes or is capable of causing disruption to two or more individuals or an organisation, then an offence has been committed. Additionally, a clause is included which states that even if a tunnel isn't created, an offence would still have been committed if the person had a reasonable belief that it would be disruptive. Again, the punishment for this is up to 51 weeks in prison, a fine or both. Another key offence created in the bill is that of interfering with access or provision of abortion services. The bill creates a 150-metre buffer zone around abortion clinics in which people cannot seek to influence, threaten, harass, advise, inform about abortion, or take photos of anyone entering the abortion clinic. The punishment here is actually a bit less strict than other provisions in the bill, with the punishment for a first-time offence only being 6 months imprisonment or a fine. And lastly in this section, there's the extension of stop and search. Basically, current stop and search legislation stipulates that in order for someone to be stopped, the police need to suspect that they're carrying either illegal drugs, a weapon, stolen property, or something that could be used to commit a crime, such as a crowbar. The bill expands this further so that items used for protesting can be a justification for stopping someone. Additionally, it gives extra provisions for the police to create areas where officers can stop someone without suspicion. Anyway, moving on to the second part of this bill, where it creates a Serious Disruption Prevention Order, or SDPO. These work in the same way that ASBOs used to work, except they're designed to be used against people convicted of protest-related offences. They will effectively be used to try and prevent recurrent violations of protest laws. If the court believes that someone will continue to block highways, for example, they can impose an SDPO on them. The SDPO can be used to prohibit someone from being at a place, being with certain people, carrying certain items, using the internet to encourage protest activities, or all of them between certain times. These requirements, and the SDPO in general, can last anywhere between 1 week to 2 years. If a person does break the conditions of the SDPO, then they're subject to, again, you guessed it, up to 51 weeks in prison or a fine or both. Worryingly, SDPOs can be used to stop someone from carrying out activities related to a protest that are likely to result in serious disruption. This is scarily vague. This means that the police can block you from, say, using the internet or going to a legal protest for up to 2 years merely on the off chance that it could cause disruption. The only limits to an SDPO are to, as far as practicable, to avoid disruption to the offender's religious beliefs, work or education. There's no actual requirement for the courts to take this into account though. Anyway, this is what is in the bill currently. The government is set to go further though, with Lord Sharp of Epsom, who's a government minister for the Home Office, introducing an amendment in the House of Lords which makes it possible for the police to consider the total impact of multiple protests by a single group when deciding how to act. Additionally, police will be able to consider long-running campaigns designed to cause repeat disruption over a period of days or weeks.
The required capacity for public order capabilities is informed by the assessment of threats, harm and risk from the National Police Coordination Centre as agreed by the NPCC. Officials and ministers in the Home Office regularly probe the National Police Coordination Centre on their confidence that forces can respond to disorder, and at present they assess that forces are able to meet current protest demands. Forces have been able to use public order resources to respond to incidents including the awful disorder in Leicester in August and in September, as well as Just Stop Oil's recent disruptive campaign on the M25.
Now, this amendment was introduced at the last moment, when the bill was finishing up in the House of Lords. It appears, though, that it will get through. The bill as a whole has already passed through the House of Commons and looks clear to be successful when the bill clears the House of Lords and is then subject to parliamentary ping-pong. It appears that while the government may not have been successful at getting these provisions through when they were in the Police, Crime, Court and Sentencing Bill, they will be successful in getting them through in the Public Order Bill.
If you want more from TLDR News, then you should check out Nebula, the streaming service where you can watch all of TLDR's videos ad-free and where you can check out a whole bunch of exclusive videos which will never come to YouTube. There's a whole load of TLDR over there. So if you're a big fan of the channel, then that's the best way to watch and support us. If you'd like to sign up, then you can get access to Nebula via the Nebula Curiosity Stream bundle. Curiosity Stream is home to some really interesting documentaries, many of which our audience are sure to enjoy. And the good news is that if you sign up to Curiosity Stream using the link in the description, you'll also get Nebula thrown in for free. That's 2 streaming services for less than $15 a month. The link is down below, and thanks for your support.